My dear friends, once more we are welcome to another edition of our program, Demystifying Academic Research. In this program of today, we are going to be looking at 7 common errors in the writing of the research methodology chapter of our dissertation. Yesterday we were looking at what makes the differences amongst these three concepts: research methodology, research method, and research design. My name is Mike Booker, and I encourage all of us who have come to this program. Please, you are welcome. If you are a returning subscriber, keep the faith. Thank you. If you are a newcomer, please, you are in the right place. If you have interest in academic research, we'll get directly to the point. We're looking at 7 common mistakes in the writing of a methodology chapter of our dissertation. For us to have it clearly, I've made it in the form of 6 inadequate and 1 inappropriate. The first one, this is how it goes. Point number 1, inadequate justification for the question what. Point number 2, inadequate justification for the question why. Point number 3, inadequate alignment of the research question, research aims, research objectives, and research design. Point number 4, inadequate alignment of the parts or some parts of the entire work. Point number 5, inadequate justification for the limitations experienced in the methodology or the thesis as a whole. That was number 5. Number 6, inadequate structural connections and interconnectedness of the work. And number 7, inappropriate verb tense. My dear friend, it may not be in order. I would like to begin with number 6 because I feel that it's important for you to come first after I've written this program. Inadequate explanation of a philosophical foundation, or I call it inadequate structural connections and interconnectedness. Once you can explain clearly that your thesis or the methodology takes the positivist or the realist philosophical view, this helps you to develop the various parts of your thesis. But guess what? Sometimes some researchers start writing without having thought through what philosophical view drives this research or this thesis. And so that's why you find that some parts may not be connected, because once, for instance, you say you are taking the realist, there are steps that you must take that aligns with the realist point of view. If you are taking the positivist, there are steps that aligns. If you know what you are doing, the moment you go out of those steps, you can tell for yourself that you are making an error. So if you do not already know the philosophical foundations, then there's a problem. With that, once you know it, you will be clear with your steps. You'll be able to understand the logical parts. This will also help you to use what my wife, Nanji Bishodu Mosere, who is a language teacher in English language, she always explained to me that there is what we call the transitional devices. For instance, you may need to use like first, second. That is, therefore, in conclusion, in generalization. So those devices already give an impression of what you are trying to say. Sometimes you use transitional sentences to link up the various sentences. And you also use transitional paragraphs to link all the various paragraphs for the entire work to have an interconnectedness. That's the first point I want to explain. So, once there's inadequate explanation for the philosophical view that drives the thesis, you are in error. Point number 2, inadequate background, inadequate justification for what? What is going on? Your reader needs to know in details what is going on in the background. What did you do? How did you go about to do your things? The details should be clear for somebody to understand. Remember that this chapter helps the reader who is curious to interrogate, get answers, and then maybe go along to do the same research and have the same results if you are clear enough. So you have to be clear. If you're inadequate, if you are clear, your information is not clear or is inadequate, it doesn't help the process. Number 3, inadequate justification for why. Why did you choose a particular research design? Every research design has a purpose. Why? Remember, as a researcher, you are out for new information and discoveries. Probably you took an unfamiliar method for a certain project. You have a reason. Place why. The third one is for you to understand that the inadequate alignment of the research question, research aims, and research objectives in line with research design. You must be able to explain how this approach helps you to answer a research question. You must be able to give the explanation of what, for instance, if you are trying to explore the impact of something, you are exploring the impact. In that case, you may not need a hypothesis because you are still trying to explore the impact. But if you are testing the efficacy, the effectiveness, the accuracy for a confirmation, then you may need a hypothesis because you already have a theory that you want to test. So you must have this clear. Number 4, inadequate alignment of the various parts or some parts of the work. Take for instance, you want to work on the impact. You want to work on take an example, the impact of vacation on job satisfaction. In this one, you may need a quantitative approach. How many people are you going to select for your sample size and why? Where to get this population? Why? What number of population for you to choose so that it should have generalization to represent almost every other job? You need all this and give explanation. You need to probably, since it's quantitative, you shouldn't need a questionnaire. What type of questions? From 0 to 5 level of satisfaction, very satisfied or less satisfied, you have to have those range and explain everything. The next point is for you to understand, you have to explain how you analyze. How will you analyze it? Remember that since you are using a quantitative approach and you are using questionnaire, you may not need a discourse analysis because it goes easily somewhere else. Here you may need a statistical method. Which statistical method is the most appropriate and why? You have to give the various steps and how you came arrive with that. You build momentum. Number 6 is inadequate justification for your limitations. Sometimes some scholars think that to explain that you were limited by this or that is a problem. No, it's a strength instead. It's not a weakness. Explain your methodological weaknesses. For instance, you wanted a sample size of 100 persons, but you got 85, probably because of COVID-19 lockdown and everywhere was closed. I used the example that has passed. People were locked down and they could not come out for you to interview them. Explain, or you have to use the on Zoom interview, phone interview, instead of in person because of one or two things. You explain why. And you may also help the future researcher on what they could do to circumvent this situation and solve the problem that you notice, that you experience. You see. And the last point, as I said, is the inappropriate verb tense. All research methodology are written in the past tense. Why? Because the research has already been carried out. Don't make a mistake to use any other tense, else you'll find yourself wanting. It is the past tense. This research was conducted in, we surveyed number of persons, we interviewed, it should be in the past tense. Once more, I'm glad to have you. Please, you are on the program, Demystify Academic Research, and we're looking at 7 common errors in research methodology chapter. We hope you will learn something. Please come again. Tomorrow we'll begin the program. We'll continue, since tomorrow is already Saturday, by Monday we'll start fully with the research methodology chapter and take the various parts of it and say, okay, I have a solution. I wish you the best and see you again on Monday. Stay tuned and stay safe.